This is how Singapore looked 60 years ago when it became independent, and this is how it looks today, as a city with no corruption and a government that gets things done efficiently. It also has one of the highest average incomes in the world. Singapore has built a reputation as a perfect country, but the truth is a bit different. Singapore's economic success came at a cost to its people. They are stressed, overworked, and exhausted. The country is running out of space, and everything is becoming more and more expensive. For the first time in many years, there is a housing crisis in the city-state. The population is getting older, and the birth rate is the lowest in the world. People are starting to resent the constant flow of foreigners coming to work in Singapore. The economic model that brought success is starting to fail. How did this happen? What did it cost? And why isn't it working anymore? This is the dark side of Singapore's economic success. When Singapore became independent, many people didn't think this small country surrounded by larger neighbors had a bright future. It faced problems like high unemployment, food shortages, and limited space. About 70% of the population lived in extreme poverty, with half of them unable to read and write. 1/3 of the people lived in one of the world's worst slums. Singapore had an advantage. Its Prime Minister, Kuan Yew. He led Singapore for over 3 decades and was the driving force behind its remarkable economic success. Kuan Yew believed that Singapore's greatest resources were its people and their hard work. This belief played a significant role in Singapore's incredible development. Singapore knew it needed money and a skilled workforce. So, it focused on attracting foreign investments and transforming itself into a hub for global companies coming to Asia. Singapore's strategic location as a naval club already worked in its favor. It offered a stable and efficient government and implemented business-friendly policies like tax exemptions for foreign companies for 10 years. Singapore discouraged labor unions. As more Western companies chose Singapore as their regional headquarters, they brought in their investments, employees, and expertise. This influx of resources further fueled Singapore's growth. Another crucial aspect was maximizing the potential of its people. Kuan Yew emphasized the principle of meritocracy, where society rewards people solely based on their skills, performance, and abilities. This ensured that talented people could rise to the top and contribute to Singapore's progress. By simplifying these ideas, we can engage more people and highlight the incredible transformation of Singapore from a struggling nation to a thriving global hub. The Singaporean education system has a strong focus on fairness, regardless of a person's background. From a young age, students in Singapore take standardized tests to determine their abilities. Those who perform well are given opportunities to attend better schools and receive quality education. This system ensures that talented students can reach their full potential. The emphasis on hard work is another important aspect of Singaporean society. The country's founder, Kuan Yew, believed in the power of hard work and encouraged all Singaporeans to adopt the same mindset. The government continues to promote this message through national campaigns that start from childhood, with slogans like "Good, Better, Best, Never Let It Rest," and the productivity mascot. And finally, the Grove became even more amazing because of a lot more people living there. The population has grown 3 times since the 1980s when the country became independent. The government made it very easy for people from other countries to come and live in Singapore. They wanted both regular workers and highly skilled workers to come and work in the country's smart industries. They also wanted to increase the population even more, so they launched campaigns encouraging people to have lots of children. One campaign even said it's great to have 3 or more kids if you can afford it. You know, in Singapore, there's this thing called kiasu. It basically means being afraid of losing or falling behind. It's about how Singaporeans see the world as a tough competition, where you always have to be alert and strive to the maximum if you want to succeed. But it's not just a random term. Experts who study this say that kiasu is a real psychological and cultural trait. It means being overly concerned with getting the most out of every deal and always wanting to be ahead of others. This mentality has its good sides because it motivates people to work really hard. However, it also has some serious negative effects on people. It's not just that Singaporeans dislike their jobs. More than any other country in the world, the people in this nation work a lot. They are one of the most tired and stressed societies. Studies also show that their way of thinking leads to following rules without questioning, feeling less confident about themselves, and being less creative on a personal level. In simpler words, the system and mindset make people feel useless and prevent them from coming up with new ideas. This is strange because while working hard is beneficial for the economy, self-confidence and creativity are crucial for success in business and entrepreneurship. If the excessive focus on hard work is destroying these qualities, then it may not be a good trade-off. But where did this contradiction come from? Basically, Singapore sees itself as a small and vulnerable country that always faces risks. To survive, the entire nation believes it must work harder than everyone else. This mindset affects people too, leading to a fear of losing. While Singapore is highly developed and offers a good quality of life with a high GDP per person, it's not an easy place to live. From a young age, children go through a highly effective but extremely stressful education system, like in South Korea. Tutoring after school is common in Singapore, and test results are highly valued, even more so than in Korea. Your early years play a significant role in shaping your entire career trajectory. In Singapore, the performance you achieve on a test during your primary school years can have long-lasting consequences. It determines not only the high school and university you can attend, but also influences your prospects of securing employment, particularly in the government sector. It's worth noting that the government is the largest employer in Singapore. Even at the age of 16, your test results and individual grades continue to hold substantial weight in determining your employability in these coveted positions. As a result, students in Singapore often bear a heavier burden of stress and anxiety compared to their counterparts in other countries. Regrettably, this intense academic pressure does not dissipate as people transition into adulthood. Despite the government's commendable efforts, Singapore grapples with limited resources, which imposes certain limitations on the opportunities available to its citizens. While the country offers enticingly high salaries, these constraints necessitate careful allocation of resources and impose certain boundaries on the available options. Housing in Singapore is more expensive compared to other places. This is because there is limited space due to the small size of the land, and the population keeps growing. In the past, Singapore was known for solving its housing problem, but that's not entirely true anymore. Private housing is very expensive and not affordable for most people, except those who earn a lot. To help everyone have a place to live, the government builds public housing and sells or rents apartments for 99 years at a relatively low price. However, in recent years, the government hasn't been able to build enough houses to meet the demand, so people have to wait for new flats. Many people are desperately trying to get public housing in Singapore, but there's a long waiting list of over 5 years. In the meantime, some people are reselling their public apartments on the unregulated market. The prices have gone up so much that they are now very expensive. This is causing a housing bubble, where the living situation is becoming very stressful for many people. Singapore is facing a big problem with housing. It's becoming so expensive and competitive that it's affecting people's lives. It's even causing Singapore to have the lowest fertility rate in the world. People often say they can't afford to have children because of financial reasons. This is a problem because Singapore needs more people to sustain its growth. But since Singaporeans are having fewer children, the population is decreasing rapidly. This is a serious issue because the population is Singapore's most important resource, and it's declining fast. High immigration levels in Singapore are causing some problems. Life in Singapore is already competitive, and many people are unhappy with the continuous influx of immigrants, especially those who are highly qualified. People believe that these newcomers are competing for the better jobs with the locals. Singapore actually needs immigrants because its population is aging quickly. Without immigration, Singapore would soon have mostly elderly citizens. The emphasis placed on early academic performance reflects the competitive nature of Singapore's society. The educational system in the country is designed to identify and nurture the most promising talents from an early age. If you enjoyed watching my video, I would be thrilled if you could hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. By subscribing, you'll stay updated with all the latest content I have to offer.